Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Do I have mic? I have mic. Good morning again, and welcome to Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name's Reverend Deborah, and it is a joy to see all of you here in our sanctuary and in our choir this morning. Thank you for that beautiful way to start the morning. And good morning to those of you joining us online. We are truly blessed that you are able to join us here today. Well, it happened again. The wheel of the year has turned once more. The days are shortening, the nights are cooling, and it's time to bring in the harvest, put out the pumpkins, gather the firewood, watch some football, and recognize the ways that death has become more evident in the natural world. For many cultures, it is said that this is a time of year when the veil between life and death becomes thinner. It's a time when it may just be possible to see through that veil and make contact with those whom we love who have passed. Today, we have set up our altar of remembrance in the tradition of the Mexican holiday, Pauline, I'm going to get this. Dia de los Muertos. Everybody do it out loud together. Okay, I like it. Day of the Dead. It honors and celebrates the lives of those who have passed. Now, we're going to hear a little bit more about this tradition later during our Time for All Ages that Patricia's going to share a story with us. So stay tuned for that. And of course, we're all familiar with Halloween. Yesterday, I got to be in the Kingdom of Halloween celebration that the Garden School did. I dressed up as a autumn fairy and got to dance through our woods. I highly recommend it. Halloween's origins, again, go back to the Celtic pagan tradition of Samhain. And this day also marked the end of summer, the harvest, the beginning of the dark, cold winter, and it is a time associated with human death. The Celts believed that on this night, before the new year, that boundary between the worlds of the living and dead became blurred, and it was on that night, on October 31st, that they celebrated Samhain, when it was believed that ghosts of the dead returned to earth. In the 8th century, in response to this pagan tradition, some of us know that Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor all saints. And soon All Saints' Day became incorporated as well. So we see many things this time of year having to do with harvest and dressing up and also honoring those that have passed. So it's a special time indeed, and it will be a special service for us today. I'm going to begin with Rumi because this piece is called Don't Go Back to Sleep. It is for all of us, not just those of you in your pajamas out there. By Rumi, don't go back to sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open, so please don't go back to sleep. I'm going to invite us all to awaken our spirits this morning, to not go back to sleep as we join in singing our opening hymn. The words are on our screen or will be soon. They are also in the gray hymnal. 389 is the number. It's called Gathered Here. And I think it's a round.
It is.
As opposed to a square.
Yes.
Okay.
While she speaks, I'll give you the melody.
Okay.
So actually, what we'll do is we'll have Bruce play it through one time, and then let's all sing it through together one time. After that, this half of the choir and the room will start, and I'll throw a cue at you, and then this half will come in and do it 2 more times. So once for Bruce, once for everybody, and then twice through in a round.
And that is not the hymn we're doing.
Don't do that one.
We're going to do that one later.
I believe it's 389.
It's 389.
389.
If you do not have that slide for some reason, we can all look at our hymnals.
Yeah, we'll do the old-fashioned thing and open the books.
Not confuse people, let's turn that off.
Good morning. My name is Bernadine Cataletta, and I extend my welcome to each of you today, and I'm so glad that you are here. Each Sunday, we pause to light our chalice as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism and our commitment to be a beacon of love in the world. This morning, Reverend Deborah will light our chalice.
Holy and beautiful. I don't think I have sound. Do I have sound? Tap the bottom. Tap. Do what? Tap my mic? Tap. Tap the bottom. Oh, sorry. I'm right here. Oh, thank you. Holy and beautiful, the custom which brings us together in the presence of all that is love. To face our ideals, to remember our loved ones in absence, to give thanks, to offer forgiveness, to be enlightened and to be strengthened. Through this quiet hour breathes the worship of ages, the cathedral music of history. 3 unseen guests attend, faith, hope, and love. Let all our hearts prepare them a place.
Now, in the spirit of the beloved community, let's greet and welcome each other to this new day as we share our congregational affirmation, we need not think alike to love alike. For those in the sanctuary, please feel free to move around and offer a greeting to others. And for those of you online, use the chat to introduce yourself or unmute to say hello.
Where'd that come from?
So good morning, all. So we all know what tomorrow is going to be, right? The fun day, the day the dentists don't like, right? Why don't the dentists like it? Yeah. The dentist? No, your teeth, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Too much candy. Yeah, I'm guilty of that. So I'm going to be reading a book today called Day of the Dead. It's a holiday that's celebrated in Mexico, And one of the things that I really enjoy about reading is the free travel. So today we get to go to Mexico. Yeah. This book is written, so give the credit.
Some marigolds. If you see those yellow flowers, those are the marigolds. And we have some petals. So later in our service, we're going to get a chance to lay down the petals to make a trail for our loved ones. But for right now, let's sing our story. Our song. Yes, our story song. Now is our time in our service to pause and reflect on the shared joys and sorrows and concerns in the lives of each other and to light our candles. I'm going to invite Bernadine to be our candle lighter this morning. And thank you, Patricia. Prior to the service, we lit 3 candles that hold our collective sorrows and hopes. They honor the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of people who lived on this land before us, the Africans who were wrongly enslaved on this land, and our collective hopes for a peaceful resolution of all conflicts and wars in the world. Before the service each week, you are invited to add your own candle of care to our table, lighting a candle in memory or in holding in your heart someone that you care for. You're also invited to write in our Joys and Sorrows books, which is in the back podium, and we'll read those during our service. And at any time, you're invited to email pastoralcare@EmersonUU for a loving ear and a caring heart. I have today a few concerns to read to you. So let's hold our hearts open as I share these concerns from around our community. George and Melanie LeMay are heartbroken at the news that their beloved little Shih Tzu Bailey has been diagnosed with stage 5 lymphoma. They are struggling with decisions on how to best care for him and how to maintain his quality of life for his remaining days. If you have ever lost a beloved pet, you understand what they are going through. They welcome your love and support during this difficult time. We'll light a candle for Bailey, please. Our heart goes out to the people that lost their lives in South Korea, hoping for healing. And positive thoughts and healings to the Pelosi family as well. And we know that there are probably joys, sorrows, and concerns that you hold in your heart right now that are not written here or are not spoken. So as Bernadine lights these candles, I'm going to invite us all to take a moment, bring those people into our hearts, and say their names out loud in witness of everyone. Ronnie and Judy. Let us send our heartfelt caring intentions to everyone, names spoken and unspoken, with our Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. I invite you to repeat the words after me. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May we be free from harm and suffering. And may we be well in body, heart, and mind. May all be at peace. Blessed be, and thank you. And today we are going to move into a special ritual, extending our time of care. We have set up our altar, ofrenda, which is the altar during the Day of the Dead celebration. It acts as an offering for those that have passed, those that we love. It honors them and lets them know that we have not forgotten. And because this is a time when that veil between life and death can be thin, it offers us an opportunity to perhaps even make contact. As mentioned in the story, the petals of the flower, the marigold flower, are often laid down as a way to create a trail for those that have passed to find their way back to us. So today, in a minute, I'm going to invite you. We have 2 mics set up to enter into this ritual with me. And what we'll do is we can create some lines. And into the mics, you're welcome to say out loud the name of someone you love who has passed. And then come forward, and there's 2 places where you can pick up flower petals and offer the flower petals to the altar in whatever way that you would like. If you have not yet brought up a memento or photo that you've brought, feel free to do that at that time as well. And I see we already have quite a few photos up there. We hope that this ritual helps us all feel comforted on this day. At the end of the ritual, we will also then join in singing Comfort Me as you are able. So I'm going to invite you now, as Bruce plays, to begin to come forward, and choir, you can also do this as well. And into the mics, you can say the name. I will begin with the name of my father, Larry Segner, and then we'll have flower petals, and you can lay those anywhere you like, in a row if you would like, or anywhere you would like on the altar, and take a moment to honor all of those that have joined us in this way today. Please, Dominic.
Eddie Wright, Frida Thomas, George Thomas.
Dominic, I think that wasn't, I'm going to just, is it on? Okay, great. Thank you.
Anna Foley.
My mom and dad, Barbara and Victor Rudolph.
My mom and dad, Mark and Terry.
My mom, Iris Fulmer.
My grandmother, Heloise Cantor, and my mother, Joan Randall.
My dad, Lee.
My dad, James Elliott
You
Sr.,
sure can, my dear.
and my partner's dad, Dan Tanner.
My mother and father, Wayne and Jeannie Reynolds, and my brother, Michael Reynolds.
Christoph Hanchinson.
My father, Russell, my grandmother, Mamie.
My grandmother, Sweetie Pie, my mom, and our daughter, Melissa.
My parents, Alfonso and Mavis Johnson, my sister, Annette Mariana Johnson, and most recently, my aunt, Violetta Farrington.
My mom and dad, Tom and Marguerite Watts.
My younger sister, Lynette Myra Goldzer.
My mom and dad, Betty and Ned.
My husband, Robert, and my brother, Arthur.
My younger brother, Roger, whose picture I forgot.
My stepfather, Randy Zoll.
My mother and my father, Blanca and Bob.
My dad, Jim Farrelly, Austin Richardson, Brian McGaugh, and Brent Letelier.
My mother and father, Ken and Helen.
My father, C.M. Miller Jr.
My parents, Rick and Sue Berggren.
My mother, Eleanor Haynes, and my uncle, Howard Berger, and my grandparents, Ethel and Rudolph Berger.
My friend, Curtis Robinson, and my other friend, Scott Dobler.
My best friend, Lawrence Saracen.
My mom, Dee Jane, and my grandmother, Anna.
My mom and dad, Evelyn and John Palak.
My mom and dad, Betty and Santo Cataletta.
I'm going to add a few flowers for all those unnamed, including my own brother, Jim. As you are ready, we can move into the song. As you would like to sing, Comfort Me, please do. Or just sit with your eyes closed and feel the comfort of that song. It is in 1-0. It's in the Teal hymnal, 1002. Thank you. It's beautiful. So doing the daily Instagram reel scroll the other day, no judgments please, I came across one I just had to watch over and over. It was this little girl, maybe 3 years old, sitting in her car seat looking out the window. She obviously is sad in the video, and she's pulling in her breath, making that face we all make when we're trying to be really brave and not cry. You know that one? Her daddy, camera in hand, is ready for this viral moment and asks her what is wrong. And as she looks out the window, she says, "The leaves are changing color and are all falling down." And then she continues, directing her words to the leaves themselves as she holds back her tears, and she says, I know you, but now I won't know you because you are falling down." Her father acknowledges what she is saying as her distress grows. And he says, "You're sad, aren't you? Because the leaves are changing color and falling down? And she shakes her head, yes. And that acknowledgement is just enough for the floodgates to open, and she starts to cry. And then she looks out the window and continues to talk to the leaves. She says, I'm sorry, you are falling down. Now I won't get to know you. I know you, but now I won't know you because you are falling down. And then exasperated, she adds, and it's my fault, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're falling down. And then she turns to her father and she says, Daddy, it's my fault. Of course, her daddy lets her know that it's not her fault, that the changing leaves and the falling down of them is part of the natural rhythm of life. But her death of despair is so visceral. Her love and connection with those leaves is so vulnerable and so raw. As I watched this reel over and over, I thought, gosh, that's kind of how I felt sitting at my dad's bedside as he was dying. In a way, I wanted to say to him, I know you, but now I won't know you tomorrow when you are gone. You are falling down, and I can't stop that from happening. And somehow, maybe it's my fault. Should I be doing something different to save you? Demand the doctors pull out a miracle, rip off all the tubes and get you out of here? You are falling down, and I don't want you to fall down. Just like the little girl looking out her car window was not responsible for the changing of the leaves, of course, intellectually I knew I was not responsible for the death of my father, and yet grief and shock and vulnerable ineptitude was still there. The little girl and I were both experiencing that hard fact about life, namely that it insists on a persistent march towards death, a march we have little control of. I once read a quote. It said, "We are all born on death row." How irritatingly true, right? Today we created our altar, and on it we placed the photos and mementos of those we have loved but who are no longer living with us as we are living. We do this to create a ritual around death, to consciously pause, and as with most rituals, we hope that this time of focus helps to soothe us, to soothe our aching hearts and the pain of this changing season that we are in the midst of when someone dies. In the face of death, rituals can help us navigate that tender space between the before times when they were alive and the after times when they are not. And while some rituals are obvious, like the one we did today, I think we all do other rituals that we kind of make up as we go along. And this year, at my father's passing, I realized that I ritually clean and organize in the face of death. My father died at 5:45 a.m. on March 24th of this year, and then a mere 48 hours after he arrived at the hospital. He died with my mother and I by his side. And if I was to tell the truth, I would have to say he died with my mother and I and my brother by his side. For even though my brother Jim had crossed that veil between life and death 5 years earlier, 15 minutes before Dad's death, I clearly felt his presence in the room. It literally felt like he pulled back a veil and just stepped through it. And then with one last breath from my dad, the two were gone, and Mom and I sat there in that room. We stayed with his body for a time, and then with nothing left for us to do, we slowly left the hospital, carrying only his wedding ring and a white piece of paper the nurses had given us listing local funeral homes. A few minutes later, we walked into the house that now only my mother would call home. And as I walked in, I walked straight to my dad's office. It wasn't necessarily messy, but there were stacks of paper that needed sorting, and there was a noticeable lack of file folders. So after moving things from one pile to another and back a few times, that move, I announced to my mom that I just had to go to the office supply store. I mean, I couldn't not go. The urge to get file folders was that pressing. And so that's how, within 4 hours of my father's passing, Mom and I found ourselves at the local Staples at 9 a.m. in the morning. I quickly made my way to the aisle, marked file folders, but with the only ones they had were those military green ones, I froze. I mean, I just stopped and I stared at those shelves with some sort of strange disbelief. How could they not have the pretty ones, you know? A few minutes later, Mom found me just standing there in that aisle staring. And practically in tears, I looked at her and I insisted that we just had to go to another store. These file folders would just not do. And we both stood there staring at the shelves for a long moment, exhausted at the thought of driving to another store, but somehow knowing there was no other choice. I took a few breaths, and then something told me to look in the next aisle before giving up. And sure enough, there they were, the pretty file folders with, the ones with the had mandala prints and designs, and they even had matching file folder holders, the hangers. I was so relieved. Something in the world was, in fact, okay. Have you had that experience after death? That desperate need to fill that gaping hole your loved one has left, a desperate need to find something in this world that's okay. We gathered a stack of said folders and after some more searching, found just the right pens, as only the right pens would do. We took our purchases to the counter. Now, the poor, nice lady behind the register did her job and just smiled and asked us innocently how we were doing. I paused and stared at her, contemplating my options. I contemplated telling her the truth. I wanted to say, well, actually, I'm pretty shitty. My dad just died a few hours ago, and now I'm feeling a compulsive urge to buy office supplies because I need to do something to soothe the fact that we left his lifeless body in that hospital bed waiting for it to be carried off to the morgue. And I wanted to ask her, isn't this a sorry commentary on our lack of ability to deal with death? Him there and me and Mom here with you at a Staples. Shouldn't this be different? But I kindly chose to not lay all that on her. And I just said, I'm okay. Just felt the need for some office supplies this morning. Several weeks later, in a day of memorializing him, my dad's closest relatives and I went blueberry picking. We made the very best blueberry pie we had ever had. We cooked up his favorite meal, a grilled steak, and drank his favorite beer, Budweiser. All in his honor. It was our ofrendo. And just like the undeniable feeling of my brother's presence in the hospital that day he left his body, Dad's presence took a place at the dining table that day. And he seemed to really enjoy watching us struggle through drinking that Budweiser. Something we had all refused to do in life with him. As I think back to those moments and others like them, I wonder, was it just my imagination, or was it possible that the veil between life and death does get thin sometimes? So thin that we are able to reach across even for just a little moment. Or is it just my own desire for immortality that causes me to want that for them? Imagining that since they live on, then I too would live on. I have my hypotheses about this, but I don't know for sure. Religions and philosophies throughout time have sought to answer this question and gave us many, many answers about immortality. Where do we go when we die? Is there such a thing as immortality in some form? Can we live on here? Or at least can we have perpetual access to here? From legends of the fountain of youth to stories of alchemy and potions that provide immortality, humans have sought to extend their time on earth, and religions have sought to offer us theories about what happens when we die to comfort us. For some, it's the promise that we will be reunited forever with loved ones after death in a place of idyllic beauty and comfort, them just sitting there waiting for us, drinking their bud. In other traditions, there's a belief that we will meet others again in another lifetime, that when we die, we let go of the clothing of identity of this life and take up new garments for the next life. And then we get to play a sort of hide and seek, calling out, "Found you," when we meet somebody we have known before. In other traditions, it is a connection with a state of consciousness that provides immortality. The rishis of ancient India practiced a continual prayer, asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotir gamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. It translates as lead me from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Immortality to the rishis was a timeless state of awareness they could achieve only in the here and now, and once realized, that would transcend death. For many earth-based traditions, death is simply nature doing its natural job of composting and recycling. The death of one living creature becomes food and fertilizer for another, and life begets life in an evolving cycle, providing a sort of immortality of its own. I don't know, I always say, just pick the version of all of that that brings you the most comfort. Because after all, whichever one we pick, we're probably wrong to some degree. But though people throughout time have developed a plethora of hypotheses about death, they all seem to agree on one thing. The deceased do live on in the minds and hearts of those that remember them. And so it is vital to take moments, like we have done today, to grieve and to celebrate and to remember, to say their name out loud, to tell their stories, to show their pictures to each other. I'm going to close this morning with a poem by Rabbi Sylvan Kamens and Rabbi Jack Reamer. And as I do, I'm going to invite you, if you would like, to close your eyes and imagine the presence of your loved ones. There is a refrain in this poem that says, "We remember them." And I'll invite you to say that out loud or to yourself as that refrain comes around. I think you'll see where it goes. So bringing, once again, your loved ones into your heart and mind, allowing their name to be on your lips and in your heart, calling them forth, perhaps imagining laying down a marigold trail for them to find their way from wherever they are to us here now. We remember them. At the rising sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Amen. My friends, someday our own photos may be on an altar, an ofrenda somewhere, and perhaps others will be drinking our favorite beverage, whether they like it or not, in our honor. They may even be going to office supply stores so they can ritually organize the remnants of our lives that we leave behind. Someone may cry because we have fallen down, and hopefully someone will rejoice because we have lived. And when that happens, as surely some of it will, may wherever you go, may you be at peace. Please join me in a moment of silence before we sing our closing hymn. Our closing hymn today is Amazing Grace, and I invite you to stand in body or spirit as you are able and join in the singing. Can I have a book number from somebody? 205 in the gray hymnal, please.
Namaste. In this great thing that we are all doing, called living, we each are creating a story. My story has so many characters in it. Each of you are playing a role in my story. And I want you to remember the role that I play in your story. It is a great story that is so special. Here at Emerson, I came here 3 years ago, and I didn't really know what I was looking for. I didn't know if I wanted spirituality. I didn't know what I was going to get into. But they passed me a microphone, and I said, I just am looking for somewhere where I can fit in. Some of y'all remember that day. And I will remember each of you. I'll remember Dominic. I'll remember you. Douglas, I'm going to remember you. Bernadine, I'll remember you. Kathy, I will remember you at choir rehearsal with your impressions of Julia Child. Joe Tomachek, I will remember you. A group of us thought that after the death of several of our beloved Emerson members, we realized that we wanted to create a special space to honor and remember people who have been a part of the Emerson community, a part of our lives, and those who they loved. And enlisting the help of a designer, Heather Moll-Dunn, the Emerson Memorial Task Force lovingly and with great hope put forth a beautiful plan to create a memorial garden here at Emerson. Reverend Deborah's holding up that plan, and you'll be able to see it in the narthex after the service. And in this hallway, the adult RE hallway, there's a beautiful bulletin board that really shows the plan and the vision for this memorial garden. But if I could just take a quick one and ask Reverend Deborah, could you share how this thing started?
Well, I think it started in several ways. One, just the hearts of everybody here. But there was a particular day when I was with Lindy Moot, and I know many of you know Lindy Moot. Some do not. Lindy was a very, very dear member here, and within that first year that I was here, or maybe it was the second year. Oh, they all melded together. Lindy passed. And I was at her house with her family and sitting with her and, talking about her beliefs about what happens when one passes. And she's so connected to nature and just spoke so passionately and clearly about her feelings of what happens to her spirit, in going into nature. And I thought, oh, wow. So many people at Emerson probably have similar feelings about a connection to the earth. What if we create a memorial garden? And so I actually talked to Lindy's family after her passing, and they became the seed money, or at least the initial seed money for the idea, and that launched the idea. And then another beloved member, Wilson McCreary, also passed in the last year, and his family as well really wanted to honor him in this way. So that created the seed money for this project that you are describing.
So many have passed, and so many have gone, but they're not missed. They will always be remembered. We want to create a cherished outdoor space for remembrance and reflection, and of course, love. The vision for the Memorial Garden is grand and beautiful. For it to be grand and beautiful, it must be developed in phases because we can't create this big plan all at one time. We have received at this point around $10,000 in seed money, and we need $10,000 more just to be able to get to phase one. That's to create some paths and really prepare the grounds back by the water detention area. And then if we can get another 10,000, we can get into phase two, which is a bridge that crosses the detention area. This plan is so grand, it could have a labyrinth, it could have a fire pit area, it could have meeting spaces, a bird sanctuary, trees, native plants, a space for you to just spend time in nature with those who have created the Emerson story. our family. So we're asking those of us who are able to make a donation to the Emerson Memorial Garden Project. You can do that by going to our webpage. There's instructions in the order of service. You can also go to REM and make donations. And just designate it that it's going towards the Memorial Garden Project. Now, I just want to say, this doesn't take away from the operational expenses of the congregation that we still need to make contributions to fulfill our obligations there. But what a great, in my opinion, opportunity for us to memorialize those who have come, who are here, and who will go before us. Namaste.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed. And I do want to just add that the goal is to hopefully get to phase 1 at least by the end of the year. So please consider that. Bernadine, I think we're ready to close. Did I miss something? Oh, I have closing words. Well, let's close with your beautiful. Go ahead.
We hope you have been nourished in heart and mind by our worship today. If you would like more information about Unitarian Universalism or about Emerson, please stop by our welcome table in the front entry. One of the membership committee participants will be there ready to meet you. Plan to join us next week when Reverend Deborah delivers the message, Embodied Wisdom. We hope you'll join us then. As our chalice is extinguished this morning, please join Reverend Deborah in the final words that are posted in the chat and in the order of service.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
Please join us for refreshments and fellowship in our fellowship room on the first floor near the back doors. This morning, we have a variety of treats from our community in remembrance of our loved ones. Those of you online, please stay tuned in and you'll be able to go to the virtual breakout rooms for fellowship time. At 11:15, we offer religious education and exploration for children, youth, and adults. Today, the children and youth will be dipping caramel apples during their RE time. Please begin in your individual rooms at 11:15, and classes will take turns at the apple dipping stations. For adults, join Reverend Deborah right here in the sanctuary for sermon reflections at 11:15. Our service is now concluded, but our connection has only begun.
Bernadine, you made it sound like such a second choice. If you're a child, you get to dip apples. Otherwise, you can join Reverend Deborah in the... I'll see if I can find us some apples, too. Please go now in peace and take peace wherever you go. It was a joy to see you this morning. If you did bring a memento, please remember to take it with you today at some point before you leave the building. Blessings. Thank you, Bernadine. Thank you, choir. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, AB.
called Every Night When the Sun Goes Down. I like how eloquent